dog days of spring ball already, JT?
No, not at all. Our kids had great energy again today and get excited. This is the toughest one, I think, all the time because it's the second day in shorts. And there's got to be some type of cooperation going on but you kind of get frustrated, especially the O-line and the D-line. You know, you don't have full pads on. And so your first 2 days are in shorts. And usually the first day they kind of understand it. The second day it starts to get a little low for those guys. But when we come back out for the third practice, we'll be able to put pads on, so it'll be a little bit better. But they were good today. They understood what we got to get accomplished, and we got that taken care of. So.
You've talked about your leaders setting the tone and having confidence on those guys. But something like Carson with his knee and Mike Clay being gone at least today, who are other guys that set the tone?
Mike's gone a day. That doesn't mean anything. But we have leaders at each position. Kenyon Barnard, running back. When the offensive line, besides Carson, there's some older kids that have played in there. Ryan Clance played a lot of football for us. Nick Cody's played a lot of football for us. Gronis Grasso, who's been a year player for us. Carrington Armstrong's played for us. At wideout, Josh Huff has been around for a long time. Justin Hoffman's been around for a long time. So at every position, you got Terrence Mitchell, John Boyette in the secondary. We're really old at linebacker, which is a good thing with Kiko and Michael and Boseco. We got some older kids there. And on the D-line, it's the same thing. Dion's been around for a long time. Ricky, Taylor Hart, Wade Kilkeepy, those guys have all been around and been in the program for at least 3 years, so they know it. But time served doesn't make you a good leader. It's do you do things the right way. And Michael Clay was a great leader when he was a freshman. And we have some other guys like that. Marcus Mariota and Brian have done an unbelievable job, even though they're really young at the quarterback spot. But that's a positive thing for us to kind of be going through. And Jackson Rice is another kid who's been, I think he's kind of an unsung kid that no one gives him or talks about the punter. But Jackson's been voted every year as one of our top leaders by our guys, and just sets a tone with how he practices. And he's a kid that can go talk to somebody on the side and just say, hey, you need to pick it up, or you need to move a little bit faster, from his observations. But it's been good so far. So.
You mentioned Carson. Is he one of those leaders on the team that's kind of always been one?
No, he grew up. I think in our O-line, there's kind of a hierarchy as it goes. And when Carson first got here, we had some good older kids. And then every year, when Carson, 2 years ago, he was still a young kid learning, but we had Jordan Holmes and both ran and CE. And then last year, he started to step it up, but we still had Asper and Weems and those guys. So he's starting to ascend a little bit more and assert himself a little bit more. Carson always kind of let the older guys lead, but because we had great leadership in the O-line. So now that falls on him, and he's done a really good job with it. So.
Coach, last year about this time, your team got really caught up with Chris Cullen because of supporting his family. I know you had a big bowling tournament. You got another one coming up this year?
Yeah, we actually do. That's a good question. April 14th at Emerald Lanes at 11 o'clock, we're going to have our second annual Chris Kilcullen Memorial Bowling Tournament. We had a blast last year, and a lot of people came out. And then a lot of people just donated in what they did. We just, if someone wants to just donate $400, then they can sponsor a team, and we got Boys and Girls Clubs kids that will participate with it. But we got a chance to be with Christy and Sydney. John Risco, his partner, came over, and our kids had a blast, and it was a really, really fun day. And I didn't know Chris, but from what I know about him, what a fun person he was to be around, and that's the atmosphere we wanted to create. And I think a year later, what he did and the impact that he had doesn't change, and I think that's what happens sometimes, is that we forget about it. Everybody's caught up in the current moment, and obviously it was a tragic thing for this town, but I think the best thing for us to do is to continue to honor his memory, and we're excited. Our players had a blast at it. The only thing we don't have, and we need to find him, is Mark Asper is going to be away. He did as good a job emceeing, so Jorgie has a lot of pressure on him. Tell Jorgie he's got some big shoes to fill, because Asper was absolutely hilarious last year. But it'll be fun. Our kids have a blast doing it and get a chance to see his family again. And his sister came, Christy came, Sydney came. So we're hoping we get another huge turnout on Saturday the 14th.
Can you talk more about the depth on the offensive line and replacing Asper?
Yeah, the one thing with Steve Greatwood in our O-line, he always rotates guys. So we're not. It's not like when you lose, we don't play five guys. So when all of a sudden, Asper and Weems are gone, what do? Ryan Clanton's played a lot of football for us. Jake Fisher's played a lot of football for us. Carrington Armstrong is getting an opportunity right now. Nick Cody's getting an opportunity right now. Monta Gregg played up for us. So, you look at all those guys I just mentioned, all took snaps in the Rose Bowl, against Wisconsin. So we're never going to have to fully replace a guy because we're going to rotate 7 or 8 guys in there. So the thing is trying to find the depth behind him. Where does an Everett Benyard, fit into that mix, or a Trevor Fox, or some of the young freshmen, Tyler Johnstone in that mix, James Usher in that mix, Andre in that mix, finding who those really for us, who 8, 9, and 10 are, and trying to make sure that we got a good rotation that's going in the offensive line. But the guys that will replace Asper and Weems, and I really, again, don't know who that's going to be till we get going in the fall, but those guys are going to have already have some experience and get some snaps underneath them. So.